Hello and welcome to Cupcakes and Crafts. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made these beautiful unicorn baby cupcake toppers. The things you will need are of course your cupcakes. I'm just using vanilla and I've got some vanilla buttercream placed in a piping bag with a star tip. I've also got a little bit of water. I've got some gold luster dust. Mine's just a fine powder luster dust with a small paintbrush, a spatula or a sharp knife, a fondant rolling pin. I've also got some flesh coloured fondant along with an assortment of colours in fondant. I'll also be using a piping tip with a small circle nozzle. I've got a circle cutter but I'll be using the really side. I've got a piece of spaghetti and most importantly I've got my baby mould. I bought my baby mould from eBay and I think it cost me £2 and that was including postage. And it's really straightforward to use. You just take your flesh coloured fondant or whatever colour baby you want, pack it in very tight, making sure that fondant's picking up every single indent in that mould. Remove the excess off the top, just smooth it over so you don't have any excess hanging over the side of the mould. And then I pop mine in the freezer and I pop it in the freezer for about an hour and a half, and then that just helps the mould set, which makes it easier for when we come to remove it. Working with whatever colour fondant you prefer, you just want to make something for baby to lay on. So I just rolled out some pale blue. I used my circle cutter but the opposite side because I wanted that frilly edge, and then taking that piping tip, I just pierced it all the way around the edges, and you could also use a kebab skewer for this effect. I then left these toppers out in the air just to harden up a little bit while I was making the unicorn's horn. And to make the horn, I've just got some standard white icing fondant and I'm just rolling it out into a really thin line, going tapered in to one side so it's thinner and then fatter at the other end. And as you can see, I've just wound it up into a spiral. And then when I got to the end, I placed it on the workbench and just rolled over it, tapering it off a little bit more, and then that'll just smooth it out as well. And using a palette knife or a sharp knife, I'm just going to trim it so it fits on baby's head a little bit better. And then using a dry paintbrush, I'm just going to dust over it with that gold luster dust. And I'm going to place these next to the cupcake toppers we've just made while we make the ears. And to make the ears, I've just rolled out some plain white fondant. I'm going to cut some little triangles. You can always measure them against baby's head if you can't judge what size you like. When you're happy with the size that you've cut, I've just gently tapered off the points and then fetched the bottom two corners in together just to curve it. And then using that dry luster dust again, I've just used my paintbrush and put a small amount just in between each ear where the curve is and the bottom two corners meet. Before swirling on my buttercream, I'm just going to cover the actual cupcake just to keep them a little bit fresher. That's all. That's the only reason why I like to do it. And then I'm just going to go in with a normal swirl. And then placing on the top the cupcake toppers that we've just made and then flattening them off. I just felt like that these needed a little bit of something more to make them a little bit fancy, so this step's optional of course. I've just painted all the frill all the way around with that gold luster dust, but I've just mixed in a little bit of that water so it creates almost like a paint, and just work my way around all cupcakes. When you've worked your way through all your cupcakes, it's time to fetch baby out of freezer. And to remove him or her out of the mould, you just gently want to pull away at the sides and keep pulling and pulling and pulling, and then as you get to the very bottom, baby should just pop out. They're so cute. When baby first comes out of freezer, they're going to be a little bit tacky, so you might not want to work on them straight away. So give them about 20 to 30 minutes and that should be enough time just for them to have dried out a little bit. I then went in with some white fondant, and this is to cover baby's bum. As cute as it is being out, I wanted to cover it up so I can put the bit of the tail on. So I just applied some water all over, started by tucking some white fondant right far underneath and then fetching it up and over the join of the leg onto the body, and then just using my palette knife to cut away that excess fondant from the top. And I went with a measurement of where baby's leg meets his tummy and his knees come forward. I cut my fondant off there. And I attached baby to the cupcake topper just with a little bit of water. And then it's time to make some strands. Lots and lots of strands of hair for the unicorn. And I went in with an orange, a purple, pink and a teal colour for mine. But again, whatever your personal preference is of colour. Or simply just use whatever you've got available really. And then wetting baby's head, I attached his first ear underneath. And just rested his head on him, and then went in with the teal fondant first, the smaller strands, folding it in half and tucking it near the ear, just using my paintbrush to get in there, and then curling up the other strands and attaching it onto baby's head. When you're attaching the strands of hair, you want to consider the length and where you're placing them. So I tended to stick to the shorter ones, obviously around the front of baby's face, and then longer towards the back. When I'd actually done half of baby's head, I broke a piece of that spaghetti and inserted it into the base of the unicorn horn and pushed it straight into baby's head. That sounds really cruel. And then as you can see, I just worked my way down the side of baby's face and then wet all the back of the baby's head and continued with my strands. This layer of strands I've put on now, I made quite long so they'll come down onto baby's back. And as you can see, around the back of baby's head, I pushed it in with the paintbrush so it went almost under baby's head, just so you couldn't see any of that flesh coloured fondant showing. And just use that paintbrush to attach it and smoothing it off. And then it's just a matter of keep on working around that unicorn horn and the back of baby's head. Don't fetch too much of that hair down onto the side of baby's face because we do need to attach that second ear, and I did that by just wetting the ear on the bottom, and I actually attached it by pushing it into a strand of hair to support it, and then just worked my way around the back of the ear to join it with the back of the head. When I'd applied that first layer onto the back of baby's head, I realised that I could put on another layer. So I made this layer shorter and curlier on the end. And just keep going until you're happy with how yours looks. When you are happy, it's time to make baby's tail, which is just a lot like how we've done baby's head. I only used 5 strands of hair on baby's tail. So just taking a bit of water, wetting baby's bum and applying on your strands of hair. I didn't decide until I got to this point that I wanted something else just to finish baby off. So I went in with a bow. I'm lucky enough to own a bow mould. If you don't have one, I'll show you how to make a little bow at the end of this video. And I just simply attached it on with a little bit of water. I went in again with that gold just to tie everything together and painted the centre of the bow. And then I was happy. To make a bow, you want to roll out a thin strand of fondant and remove a thin section just like that. Level off the edges. Then flip the fondant over, wet the centre, fetch the 2 ends into the middle onto the wet bit, just nip the centre together like this, and then taking that thin strip we've just cut off, we're going to simply wet the back of that and place the bow on, fetch the strip over onto the back of the bow, flip it the right way around, and then using your palette knife or a sharp knife you can just make some indents, and there you have it, a super easy mini fondant bow. I hope you've enjoyed this video and it's given you a little bit of inspiration onto a different theme or colour of unicorn cupcake toppers. Thank you very much for watching.